take a shot at hopefully giving you some advice that might help you make fewer mistakes or become hugely successful just that much sooner. So, and I wanted to do it on a quick video here because I think it holds a little more impact. And I think you bring up a question here that's not only applicable to people who are considering investing outside of their own city or location, but also a question that's applicable to all newbies who are getting started in the house flipping game or in real estate investing in general. So let me go into it right here. First of all, to answer your question, it's totally possible. And I know this from experience. I've actually done quite a few flips outside of the United States in South America. I'm currently doing them now. I've been flipping properties outside of the United States since 2015. So it can be done. If I can do it outside of the country, you can definitely do it outside of the state of California or outside of the Bay Area. But what it's going to take is I just actually wrote it down here so I wouldn't mess this up. First and foremost, you've got to know the market that you're going into. So you've got to select a market. And like I said in the post, I suggest more linear markets to keep your downside at a minimum. But let's say you're going into Reno, which is the example that I use. You've got to decide, okay, am I flipping houses? Am I flipping starter homes? Am I flipping homes that are kind of the next notch up? Am I flipping luxury homes? And then once you understand that, then you've got to go out there and get a feel for not only the neighborhoods where you want to start flipping homes, but each street. And I know that this is said a lot, but I cannot overemphasize how important it is to know the area just as well, if not better, than a local would know the area. And I mean not just going on Zillow or not just going on Google Street View. I mean flying there for a month or for a week at a time, 4 times, and just walking those streets, going up and down and up and down and taking notes and observing, and then going back to your hotel room, looking at Zillow, looking at the MLS, looking at the comps, doing all these things, and just understanding why things are selling for what they're selling for, and what is better about this street than the next street over, what's better about the strip malls there, the commerce. You just have to know it inside and out. That would be my first piece of advice if you're planning on doing this seriously. Next, you've got to have a team. And going back to the example, using me as an example, I worked on my team in South America for a year. Well, I actually knew them prior to that for 3 years. The main people, my general contractor and my designer, it's actually a husband and wife team. I met them in Ecuador in 2013 and got to know them on a personal level. Built a huge trust relationship with them. I did a couple projects with them in Ecuador. And then when I started investing more heavily in Colombia, Medellin specifically, I brought them up from Ecuador. And this was at the end of 2015. And I worked with them for an entire year on one project here. It was a huge project where we had to go through the entire process of hiring and firing subs. And, as you probably have heard, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs to find electricians, painters, tile guys. Just it goes down the list. And you're going to make those mistakes up front. And so I wanted to be here for that. Then I also wanted to work with Angie and Joaquin are their names. I wanted to work with them so they'd really understand how I wanted things done. And then when we got that first huge project done, then I went ahead and bought another project, and I had them I cut the cord there and I let them do that more on their own, but I'd check on it maybe once every couple months or something like that. It was about a 6-month project. And now it's to the point where if I would check up on them, quite honestly, I'd just get in the way. So I find a deal, I buy the deal, I fly down for that, then I leave. I come back 6 months later to check on it when they say it's done, and then I sell it. That's about it. So, but it took me a long time to build that team and streamline that process. The next thing that you'll need to have, and I mentioned this in the in my little written post, is you've got to have a skill set of managing people. You've got to have that skill set in your tool belt. I was very fortunate because I was an entrepreneur for many years before I retired in 2012, and I'd managed thousands of employees. So I had a big advantage starting the real estate game. If you've got that type of experience, that's fabulous. You're starting way, way, way ahead. If you don't, you're going to have to learn that because whether you're doing things locally or at a distance, it's all about managing people. Next, and finally here, you've got to have a process, and I mean a really super strict process. You've got to have uh, systems in place for every single thing that you do throughout that remodel process. You've got to, what I say, you've got to stupefy it. So you've got to just make it as redundant as possible. And that starts with processes and systems. All right, then the next thing that I wanted to go over is how to do this, and this is where, like I said in the post there, I'm going to take this way, 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 way outside of the box. Trust me, this is going to get pretty crazy here pretty quick. But I wanted to go over this because I not only suggest that you think about doing this, but I really suggest any newbie out there to really consider this because if I was advising my own family member or a close friend, this is exactly what I would tell them to do first. Because number one, it's going to really, really limit your downside. And regardless of how good you are or how good you're going to be, the first project or the second project or the third project, you are going to make mistakes. We're just human, and you you don't know what you don't know. I always tell beginners that, and wherever I am in the world, wherever I'm flipping or wherever I'm doing real estate, you just don't know what you don't know, and you're never going to learn it on BP. BP is absolutely fabulous. It's amazing, but you're just not going to learn it other than by going out there and doing it and making mistakes yourself. So my suggestion here, which I'll get into, it really limits your downside. It's got more upside, and then you can take all the money that you make from your learning process, and you can apply that to your first down payment or your first property flip. And the process is identical. I know it's going to sound crazy, but trust me on this one. The process is absolutely identical to flipping a house. So, what is my big outside of the box suggestion? I suggest you go out there and flip a truck or a car. In my case, what I did as a side hustle many, many, many lifetimes ago is I would go out and I would find a specific niche. I'd find Ford trucks that were very popular, 95s, 2002, sometimes diesel, sometimes gas. But I'd find them that were just, farm trucks or beat up or sometimes I'd find deals just like in real estate. It's a very inefficient market. So you'd find motivated sellers. Maybe the guy's getting a divorce. Maybe the wife doesn't want the truck anymore. Who knows? It's just like real estate where you find motivated sellers. But then what I do is I'd buy the truck. I'd buy off of Craigslist typically, and I'd get it cheap. You negotiate it, you find the motivated seller, you find the super, super awesome truck, but it's just in the stage of its life where it's just really ugly right now, just like a house. I'd buy that, and then I'd do the exact same thing you do to the house. You just fix all the mechanical issues, you redo the interior, you redo the exterior, you put on brand new wheels, you shine it up, you take awesome pictures of it, and then bam, you go ahead and flip it. Literally the exact same process is flipping a house. But like I said in the post, instead of risking $100,000 or instead of risking $700,000, you're risking $7,000. And quite literally, in fact, the exact numbers, what I typically do is I buy a truck for about $5,000. I'd put 2 or 3 grand into it, and then I'd flip it for between $12,000 and $15,000. A lot of times I'd double my money, just bam, right like that. And when you consider the actual ROI per flip, your percentage on trucks, or what I was doing, I was getting a much higher percentage on the trucks than I am, or than I have been since 2012 in flipping houses. I flipped over 40 homes in and outside of the United States, and just as a strict on a percentage basis, I made way more money flipping trucks. So the takeaway here is, if you do something like that locally, or what I actually suggested in my post, using Reno as an example, is I would actually flip a couple of trucks in Reno, where you've got to hire the subs, you've got to manage the process from a distance, um, and get a feel for it. Create systems, understand what's going to go right, what's going to go wrong. And then once you go through that a few times, then go out and flip a house. And you're going to find that, wow, this is very, very similar. All the issues that I ran into at the trucks, I'm running into at the houses. But you're already going to have those systems in place. You're going to be way ahead of the game. And instead of learning where you're risking hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're learning where you're risking $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, something like that. And again, I suggest doing this for any newbie, regardless of whether you're trying to flip properties outside of your local area, but even if you're trying to flip properties inside your local area. Why risk your life savings right out of the gate? It doesn't make sense. Go out there, flip something small, go through the process, learn it, streamline it, then go out and put your life savings into it and be a huge success. So Brian, that's the best advice I can give to you. Hopefully some people will find value in it. I'm sure a lot of people will think I'm absolutely crazy, but that's totally fine. And I wish you well, and I wish you luck in the future, and let us know how it goes. We'll talk to you later.